Greetings and welcome, everyone. Today we have another special guest that has come up with some very intriguing headcanons about equestrian history. So what better person to review the most history-filled episode in all of MLP with other than the one and only Ink Rose?
Hello there, my Brony and Pegasister friends. Today I'm going to review the Season 2 episode, Hearths Warming Eve, with my good friend DRWolf.
Out of all the episodes in MLP, Hearths Warming Eve shows us more about equestrian history than any other. The amount of backstory the writers and animators have provided here has given us a treasure trove of possibilities to work with for future stories. I, for one, have come up with a number of video projects based off of the events of this episode alone. But even putting aside all the potential headcanons that can come from this story, the way they have put these historical events together is actually rather impressive. The MLP staff were able to incorporate divisions in society in a very believable way. Teaching children about the negative effects of prejudice must be handled with great care, as it can easily become offensive if not taken seriously. But I am glad to see that they managed to come up with some intriguing divisions between the three pony races, and even how they were able to overcome them.
I, for one, am a big fan of equestrian history. The way this world has been set up is just so interesting and well done. I can't help but want more. The way this episode shows us so much history is a really cool thing, and is a major world-building factor.
As the episode begins, we see the main six are on their way to Canterlot to take part in the annual Hearths Warming Eve play. After another quick appearance from Derpy, we get to see Fluttershy going through stage fright jitters behind the curtain. Given what we've seen from Fluttershy before, it does seem hard to believe that Fluttershy would actually want to get in front of a crowd again. I would guess that she's attempting not to disappoint her friends, or Celestia for that matter. We also see the rest of the main six being a little on edge before the performance, as even something as simple as an open window is causing frustration. As the play begins, Spike is narrating the history of Equestria, and I can really appreciate the fact that the animators made this look like a somewhat simple production, as the decor shows a lot of hands-on work. Like, for instance, the fact that the fire in the fireplace is being made to look real because ponies in the background are moving the separate pieces with poles. That's something I hadn't noticed before.
Something I really appreciated from this opening was the atmosphere. As the main six are walking through Canterlot, we see a whole slew of wonderful holiday decorations, and a light snow falling over the city. This really gets us in the mood for the holiday, and personally gave me a warm feeling inside, since I'm a big fan of Christmas. Also notice the lovely little holiday jingles that are playing right at the beginning of the episode. Yet another aspect that gets you pumped for the holiday. I know for sure that I'll be watching this episode when Christmas rolls around again.
But let's move on to the more intriguing bits of this episode. We are shown that the three pony tribes distrusted one another and only cared for their own well-being. Both the Pegasi and the unicorns provided favorable weather and light in exchange for food that could only be grown by the earth ponies. This suggests that the earth ponies have some advantage to their farming that the other races lack, as their cooperation seems to be strictly out of necessity. This is further explained later on in the episode when Smart Cookie is holding a small pile of dirt in her hoof, and suddenly a plant springs forth and sprouts leaves in a matter of seconds. But this was not due to any kind of unicorn magic or Pegasi weather. An earth pony was simply holding a pile of dirt in her hoof and a plant was able to grow from it. However, once an unrelenting blizzard falls on the land, the earth ponies are no longer able to grow food, which in turn leads to the three tribes fighting over what little harvest remains. The leaders of each of these three tribes agree to meet at a summit, and we are introduced to the ponies that the main six are representing in this play. Princess Platinum of the Unicorns, Commander Hurricane of the Pegasi, and Chancellor Puddinghead of the Earth Ponies.
I wonder if the Earth Pony's ability to farm is connected to the weather somehow. That would be kind of interesting. I really like how the abilities of the ponies are represented here. It affirms once again that Pegasi control the weather, and gives us some new insight on how the Earth Ponies have roles in society. However, the really interesting part is how the unicorns could raise and lower the sun and moon. Before this episode, we thought that only Celestia and Luna could do such things. This gives us an ever larger world-building aspect to this episode. I have theories on how the unicorns did this, but that's something I did for another video.
It becomes immediately apparent that each of the tribes looked down on the others for different reasons. The Earth ponies seem distrusting of the other races due to their magic powers over the climate. When Chancellor Puddinghead says that she is out of ideas, Commander Hurricane actually states, "What a shocker, an Earth pony with no ideas," suggesting that the Pegasi actually think that the Earth ponies are unintelligent. And it is hinted that the unicorns actually consider the Pegasi to be ruffians, and that the unicorns are above that kind of behavior. As the play continues on, we see the episode switching from the ponies performing this story on stage to seeing the events as they actually happened in the past. In both cases, for the main six playing the parts they represent and in the past history, all of these ponies look identical to each other. Now, there are two possibilities as to why this is. It is likely that the animators made it this way so that we, as the audience, could easily identify which pony was which when switching back and forth between the play and the actual history. And that makes a lot of sense when putting together an episode like this. However, there is another possibility that the main six really are a perfect match for these characters that existed far in the past. We don't know this for certain, but I like to think that this is the case. At any rate, though, the interactions between the main six make for some fantastic dialogue. These are probably the most enjoyable moments in the episode when we are watching their travels to a new land. Of course, it makes for even more conflict when they all discover the same spot of land and each of them try to claim it as their own.
For me, though, this is my major problem with the episode. Ever since I was a kid, I highly disliked episodes of cartoons where the main characters argued and argued and argued over something that could be solved easily if they just put aside their differences and worked together. This is especially annoying in this episode because the arguing would have been so easy to stop. If the leaders had acted mature and not like spoiled little kids, their problems would have been solved easier and the episode would have been more enjoyable for me to watch. I think that instead of them arguing until the very end, the leaders should have found out that they were all looking for a new land after they had stormed out of the summit. Then they would face each other and argue a bit over who should be getting the rights to any new land they find. They would eventually work out their differences, understanding the predicament that each of them are in, and learning how to see things from another pony's perspective. Then they would set off to discover Equestria together, and once they do, they would lead their respective tribes to the new land, teaching them about what they had learned about friendship. The tribes would be hesitant to accept the idea of mingling with the other tribes at first, but once they saw how well their leaders were working together, they would come to terms with it and start talking with the other tribes, finding similarities with each other. That is when the overall emotions of love and friendship would activate the magic in Clover the Clever's horn, and the same magical outburst would happen that was seen at the end of the episode, creating that giant purple heart and blasting away the Wendigos. The ponies would settle in their new land and peace would reign. That's just my thoughts, though. A lot of people seem to like the episode the way it is, and I can still see why.
We get some more bickering between the tribe leaders until the snow and ice envelop them, and the advisors are left on their own as they spot the Wendigos above them. Apparently, these are winter spirits that feed off fighting and hatred. A rather interesting creature that actually started to remind me of Discord. Though Discord seems far more powerful and unpredictable, he does seem to share a liking for contention with the Wendigos. So that got me to wondering, could there be some connection between Discord and the Wendigos? Especially with how the Wendigos are defeated here, this seems like Clover the Clever might have created the very first spark for the elements of harmony, which in turn banished these beings of hatred and freed the ponies of their power. Wouldn't surprise me if this turned out to be the case.
Another thing to remember is that the snouts of the Wendigos look suspiciously like Discord's as well. Perhaps there is a possible connection?
We get another short song that seems a bit simpler than some of the other songs in the series, particularly with the lyrics. But the way this is put together is actually supposed to be simpler, as it is meant to be sung by the audience as well, similar to a choir piece that is sung in church.
I like this song. It reminds me of the carols I sing in church during Christmas time. So much nostalgia. Also, when you look at the audience here, it seems the main six are not performing a play for Canterlot, rather the League of Changelings. It certainly seems that Chrysalis was planning her invasion from early on in Season 2. Well, that's all I really have to say on the matter. It was great doing a review with you, Dr. Wolf.
My sincere thanks to you, Ink Rose, for joining me here. It's always nice to have some added perspective on these episode reviews, and you had come up with some rather intriguing insights that I hadn't noticed here. Thank you kindly for dropping by. In the meantime, we would like to hear your thoughts on Hearthswarming Eve. What do you think about the prejudice presented between the three pony tribes here? Do you have any thoughts on whether there might be some connection between the chaotic discord and the Wendigos that feed on hatred? What are your favorite standout moments in this episode? We would like to hear your thoughts on Hearths Warming Eve, and here's to hoping that we see a great deal more about equestrian history in the future. I am DRWolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.